like this validation does not happen to many people. Like
Yeah,
come on, like you're gonna be your own worst enemy if you don't just start thinking it yourself too. So that
that's
show
so
was
crazy.
such a blessing, obviously.
Perfect. Well,
Yeah.
I'm Adam, so nice to meet you. I thank you again for doing this.
Oh my gosh, of course. Thanks for having me.
Amazing. Well, yeah, so this is about you, your journey in music, and we'll talk about the project and the song and everything else you have going on.
Oh, let's say wait, before we start, can we even a little tiny bit louder? That's amazing. Sorry.
Good. I love that you have
Yeah,
like
I can. Oh, it's perfect.
professional.
Oh, I know, right? Last time I did this 2 years ago, it was just like me and my MacBook. But now there's a whole
The whole
interface
setup.
situation. Yeah, I love it.
Cool.
Moving on. A
Was that when you were doing the American Idol thing, or is that
yeah,
right
yeah,
after it?
right after.
Killer. Awesome. Well, yeah. So I start off with born and raised. Are you from DC? Is that what I
No,
saw?
I'm from Staten Island, New
Oh,
York.
Staten Island. That's what it was. Okay. Tell me
Mm-hmm.
about Staten Island.
Tell you about Staten Island.
Yeah.
Oh
Home of
my
the Wu
gosh.
Tang.
Yeah, exactly. It's like everyone. It really gets a lot of hate, Staten Island. But
Really?
are you saying that sarcastically, or do
No,
you
I
not
don't
think
know
it
much
does?
about New York, to be honest. And I know that the Wu Tang's from Staten Island, and
There
I
you go.
love
At
Wu
least
Tang
that's
Clan.
okay.
They're
That's
like
a
my
good rep.
favorite groups.
Oh my gosh, I love it. My brother played football with Method Man's son.
Really? That's
Yeah,
amazing.
I know.
I've
But
had
yeah.
You God's son on. He's
Oh my gosh, we should
yeah, his
just
project's called Intel.
we have
He
to
does like
encourage a like Wu-Tang son clan. You
yeah,
know what I'm
right.
saying? Get it together. But yeah, no, Staten Island is well, I went to high school in Manhattan and then I think I started to appreciate it more when I would like come back on the ferry every day.
Okay.
Just a little more quiet. There's a lot of parks, delicious Italian food. People just like hug strangers. I just love it.
Really?
They
That's
do.
cool.
I do. It's a very homey vibe,
I
in
love
my
that.
opinion.
Yeah, I recently moved to Nashville from San Diego,
Oh,
and
nice.
when we moved here, it was like people just you'd be driving by, people are waving, and I'm like, is that like? It was just so weird. It was almost like, I
Yeah, the
kind of do I know
hospitality
that
down there.
person? Yeah, but no, I don't. But yeah, now that I went back and that doesn't happen, it's kind of like, oh, dick, he waves at me, and
I
it's
know. It makes you so much more just like you're
like,
expecting so much from people now.
right,
I
yeah.
know. Yeah, Nashville
Um,
is like that.
Very cool. So Staten Island, did you come from, or do you come from a musical family or like creative household in that
I
sense?
come from music, like a music loving family. My
Okay.
dad actually does write songs,
Wow.
which is definitely an influence for why I started doing that myself. And yeah, I mean, we always had music playing. He was a big classic rock guy and played guitar, so we were constantly singing like Beatles tunes and whatnot. And
Hmm.
then of course my grandparents were huge, like Tony Bennett, that kind of jazz standard, that music. Um, so yeah, there was always music playing, but nobody would like ever do it as a career. They
Okay.
thought it was spooky.
But dad wrote songs and played
He
guitar.
did.
Did you play guitar at all younger, or was it always just vocals?
I did. I actually started out on the drums. That was like my first intro to music. And
Wow.
then
At
yeah,
what age?
I was I think I was 7 when I started taking lessons. Um, but it would only really lasted 2 years because I started yeah, I just started to write and then, a vocal and drum duo, you can't really write too much songs over the drums. So I was kind of
Sure.
looking to expand that part. And then I started taking piano lessons and um yeah, it's just been, I guess, growing from there. But yeah.
Very cool. And then you said you went to high school in Manhattan. Did you go to like an art school, or is that just happened to be the school that you had to go to?
No, I did go to an art school. It's called LaGuardia. And yeah, it was incredible. I mean, there wasn't many Staten Islanders. Like we all like traveled together on the boat every morning and we're just like equally. I would be like, "Oh yeah, I'm from Staten Island." And tell the kids and be like, "Oh, I've heard of that place. Oh, I've heard of it over there." And I'm like, "Oh, cool. Great." But it was an incredible school. The people, like the talent that comes out of that place is
Hmm.
just insane. I was just, being surrounded by people that are better than you was a really cool way to, learn and grow up
Yeah,
in
I've heard.
that
I mean,
area, you know.
I've heard of the school. Was it something you have to like audition to get into, or like how did
Yeah,
you decide to go there?
you do have to audition. I actually auditioned for vocals and trumpet
Oh,
and
you're a
got
trumpet
in for
player.
trumpet as well.
What? When did you start playing trumpet?
In
I mean,
band, so whatever age that would, probably like third grade. But
oh man. So you went to the drums and then piano and also trumpet.
yeah, I guess it was hard for me to kind of start learning an instrument and not just love it, you know?
Okay.
Um I just totally submersed some kids like love sports when they're younger or whatever. I was just a real music buff. I don't know, that was a weird word.
Yeah.
Um but yeah, I played trumpet just throughout band, and then I loved the school so much. I had a friend who went there and I thought she was the coolest, so I was just like trying all of my avenues to get in. And then I had to make the decision, am I going to be a singer or am I going to be a trumpeter? Um and I picked singing.
Okay. So you had to put down the trumpet at that
I
point.
put down the trumpet. Yeah. I've
But
not
once you get
picked
it,
up the trumpet since.
really? Okay. So
I
you,
haven't. There's not too many
I bet you
trumpets
can
laying
still play
around.
it. I bet you can still play it.
It does require, like, I always think, I'm like, oh my gosh, is my embouchure still as strong? Like, I don't think so. But yeah, I think I could do. I remember like a scale or two, just like the drums. I can definitely lay down one nice
One
beat.
beat. There you go.
Yeah, one beat.
And then so from high school is when you just really just focus solely on vocals.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, that really started young. It was like it was more writing. Songwriting was definitely like if I played gigs, because I did actually start that pretty young too, but I wasn't really like singing to show off my voice. It was more to like, show the songs that I was writing.
Hmm.
And I don't really think I took myself super seriously as a vocalist until American Idol, honestly. I just didn't.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, I loved to sing. I did it all the time. I played out. I wasn't like scared to be on stage. But again,
Hmm.
I was always like, I went to college for composition, like really thought of myself having a career in more of the writing side.
You did an original, right, for your audition?
I did, yeah, Growing
And
Pains.
that's a bold move, right?
I mean, with the show like American Idol, I already felt so out of place. I had no idea what I was doing there. So I figured if I was gonna like do it at all, I might as well just try to do it something that I felt most comfortable with, which again, I
Hmm.
was saying that I really only kind of sang my own songs out. So I said, what the heck? I'm glad I did though. Like again, huge
Yeah.
lesson learned to just like follow your gut because that was terrifying and I was really expecting a different outcome. And then
Yeah.
so
No, I mean that's amazing. I my wife is all about it. She watches the show, and I started watching it again like last year, I think it
hmm
was. And a lot of people now are doing original songs, but like a couple of years ago, that wasn't a lot of
yeah.
that was like a bold choice, right, to do your own thing because they
I
don't
mean,
have anything to really kind of compare it to, or are you hitting the
exactly.
notes? But
And they
it's a
are
good
like if you're
song,
sitting in front of Lionel Richie, it's like terrifying.
right?
um but yeah, I know, I'm so happy they started doing that because not a lot of other shows like The Voice doesn't do that, like the other singing
Mm-mm.
shows. So, and it really adds such a cool, aspect to American Idol. And before, like there was two seasons before me with when they went to ABC and they had Katy Perry, all those judges. And I feel
Yeah.
like every season that I had saw prior, and I wasn't really I also hadn't watched the show since I think Carrie Underwood, honestly, like in so
Yeah,
long.
I hadn't. I stopped watching it too. I think
Yeah.
Adam Lambert because he went to my high school. I was like, damn, this guy is that
Okay,
good.
represent. Yeah, so I had seen these people go on and do their own originals, and it was such a big it was just so, it was warmly welcomed. And I figured once that opportunity arose, just the audition in general, I was like, I guess I'll do it. So
Yes.
yeah, really cool.
So you were obviously your songwriting and playing out and all that before that
Yes.
show.
Yeah.
And when you get on the show, it's well, let's just do an original song. Not only because if you didn't make it through, at least your people will hear your song. I would imagine that's a good.
Yeah, which was, well, it depends. Some people, I knew people that got all the way to like top 40 and they're audition was never aired. So it's a gamble of
Oh,
if you're even going to
interesting.
be on or not. So the whole thing was just totally really wacky. I still look back on those videos like it's like a black hole in my brain. I'm like, did that actually like happen? Just so bizarre. But and it's weird because you audition with the original, but that's kind of the only time that you're allowed to. So now I'm in a singing competition and I'm
Right.
like, oh
Yeah, because then you have to
no.
do their like challenges and all that other
Yeah,
stuff.
I have to do challenges. I have to sing like Beauty and the Beast for Disney Week or whatever. It's just like,
Yeah, yeah.
oh gosh, get over yourself, get it together. But that's what I mean about when I really first started taking myself seriously as a singer, because it's like, all right, you have the biggest, like, you are like, this validation does not happen to many people. Like
Yeah,
come on, like you're gonna be your own worst enemy if you don't just start thinking it yourself too. So that
that's
show
so
was
crazy.
such a blessing, obviously.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to stay much longer on it just because I want to talk to you about your new project
Yeah,
and everything.
totally.
But I just have a couple more. I'm just curious questions. Like,
Love it.
how did you decide like I'm gonna go sign up and I'm gonna wait in the line and all of that, or was it something? Because now I've heard other people. I've had a handful of people that have been on the show or
Yeah.
that have either gotten reached out to via like Instagram or something like
Mm-hmm.
that, and then I've had David Cook on who was just there
Oh, I
supporting his
love him
brother
so
and waited
much.
in line and then ended up, I think he won the whole thing or got
He
close enough.
did.
Yeah, so
He's
it's
such a
like
badass.
his story was crazy because it was like he was just there to because his brother wanted to do it. But
Yeah,
I'm curious to see how you did you go and wait in line and
I
all
did
that?
not. And this is so I was working at a artist development company in Staten Island, and I was doing it for like a college credit.
Okay.
I was doing like intern duties, and I was really really tight with my boss, the woman that runs it. And yeah, ET Studios. Wow. And she, I guess, was really close with the producer on the show, and she was like, "Okay, let's get together." She like sent in a bunch of people from their roster that was on their artist development squad,
Mhm.
and she was like, "I think I'm gonna send in like." Because her and I would write a bunch. She was like, "Oh, I think we should send in like our tunes too." I was like, "Okay," just like us. Like I didn't really think anything was gonna happen. And then
Mhm.
she got back to me like a couple days later. It was like, okay, well, they want to see you tomorrow in Brooklyn, like if you want to go. So this is like the producer, like music industry round or something. There's like cattle call, or there's like when you get an
Yeah, you
Instagram
get to
DM,
a
you go
certain
to this thing.
point. Yeah, you get to a
Yeah.
certain point and then because you have to go through a bunch of people before you even get a chance to
Well, in this case, you go to this one audition, and then if they say yes, you're going in front of those like judges or whatever.
Okay.
So anyway, I was like, okay, you know what? I need to exercise my audition muscle, like be humbled, go get like said no to, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
Because it's like again, singing competition, whatever. I just wanted to step outside of my comfort zone.
Sure.
And it was literally like, if you want to go, it's tomorrow. So I was like, sure. I
You're
know.
like, I
And
don't
then
have
I
any
went.
time to prep. You're like,
No,
whatever.
no. I was like, oh, so that's where the original came in. Cause I'm like singing freaking like X's and O's. Okay. I was like, what do I do?
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, so I went the next day, and the response was just so crazy. They were just like, yeah, you're going to the next round. And then it's like, wait, do I want to go on TV and get humiliated by Ryan Seacrest when my family's in like I Heart Julia shirts? Like literally no.
Oh, that's
Um,
amazing.
but I did crazy. So it really was random. But I'm so happy that I decided to challenge myself with that one.
And did you do your original in front of the producers or
I
was
did. So I did
Oh
two
wow.
covers, and they were like, "What song would you sing live?" And I was like, well, I write music, and they were like, "Let's hear one." So I did Growing Pains, and that was a wrap, which was cool.
Wow.
Yeah.
And
So
was this was during the pandemic or no?
this
Or
was
after
before
that?
the pandemic. So in top 20, I got that like when we flew out to LA for the live shows, that's when we that's when COVID, the first case of COVID
Oh
happened.
man,
So
what
we
was
all
that
got
like? I mean, you're there, you're like, okay, this is happening. I get to sing
yeah.
for the judges, and then they're like, and now you have to do it like we're talking right now.
Honestly, it was a mix of emotions. It was a little bit of sweet relief, I'm not gonna lie.
Mhm.
Again, just like it was all so it was terrifying. Like each performance was so scary to me. So to be home and like sit down on my couch after I sing, like sign me up. You know what I mean? I could
Yeah.
like,
See, because you had already had to get through all the other things, right? Like, I mean,
yeah,
you
we
did the
went to,
Hollywood week and all that.
yes,
Yeah.
which
And
was
then,
hell. And then we went to Hawaii, which was freaking awesome.
oh, that's
And then
cool.
yeah, and then yeah, we flew out to LA for the last round and went home and did it all from home. So that was the full pandemic. And
Hmm.
it was just, it was crazy.
So
Yeah.
yeah, so you would just get on the thing like you are right now. They'd be like,
Yeah. They
okay,
sent us like iPhones and just instructions and so much gear. And it's just me and my mother like standing with like
figuring it
screwdrivers and a microphone,
out.
like building sets and stuff. That's dramatic. We like taped some garland around. We didn't like woodwork, but
Right.
it was
May
it was it
jazz it
was
up a
it was
bit.
definitely an experience. Um and
That's wild.
yeah, it was really wacky. The worst part, I guess, was just you really get close to all those, the contestants. You're going through the weirdest thing ever together.
Right.
It's everyone's just shocked that they are where they are, like where they made it to where they made it.
Hmm. Yeah, and you
So,
made it far in the show, which is really amazing.
well, thank you. It was cool. It was really cool.
Well, from there, you're done with the
Oh,
show, and then
yes.
do you feel like did you have kind of like a stigma? Like, were you worried about that? Like, oh, it's Julia from American Idol. Like, because I know people kind of get stamped with that for a little
Hmm.
bit. Was that something that you were worried about? You're like, whatever. Because you were a songwriter prior to going into this, whereas
Hmm.
some of those people are just great singers, and then it's like, okay, now you get signed to this record deal, and you got to write an album, but we're gonna give
Yeah.
you the songs. And whereas you had already done all those things prior to the show, and
Hmm.
then you're coming out, it's like, okay, now I'm gonna put out my music, which I've already written and done forever. And then were you worried about like getting the oh attached to the American Idol thing?
Well, again, I was touching on it before how what low confidence I had during that whole thing, and it really does. It just messes with your perception of what you're doing, and a whole different people are following you now because they love the show. They don't really know anything about. They know as much as they do about you. They know me singing Beauty and the Beast and an Adele song, and like, it's
Hmm.
you're now subconsciously trying to make music for this audience that doesn't really like, they're following you because you're on the show, blah blah blah. And it was a confusing time directly after I was signed to 19 recordings. And I just didn't know what I wanted to do musically. And it was I was just in so many different sessions with so many producers and so many writers, and everything just felt like I had this huge catalog of music for everyone but me, it felt like.
Hmm.
So I yeah, no, to answer your original question, I didn't really feel personally like there was a stamp like Julia from American Idol. People did tell me like that's lame or whatever. I was like, okay.
Oh,
Not actually. They were nice about it. But like I didn't realize that was a thing until I guess I started talking to other people in the industry.
mm,
Like with the show, I guess there's like a stigma with, you know, uh talent show whatever, careers.
yeah. But then you look at some of the artists that come out of that.
Well,
It's like,
exactly. It's like, all right, bro, like I'll take what works. I'll
right,
do
right,
whatever
right.
works. Um, but I was more caught up in the music I was making. Like I used
Hmm.
to again, it was such a huge part of my life for so long writing music, but like music that made me happy. I was to my own fault, not even thinking about the listener at all, which is like a part of it I really was starting to miss.
Hmm.
Um, because I was totally just writing at this point
Yeah,
for the
because now you
bag.
have, like, I have all these followers and they've heard me sing, like you said, Adele or
Yeah.
Beauty. So now to
Be
keep
pop.
them,
Yeah.
yeah, I should write songs like that so that
Yes.
instead of I'm gonna write how I always write and hopefully
Exactly.
they'll stick around.
Yeah, which was like a huge part of my personality, and just so it was yeah, it was just a very confusing time. So that's where Ferry Townes was such a blessing, because I took 3 years of not releasing music, and
Hmm.
kind of really had to dig deep and reinvent, not even reinvent, just refine. That refine doesn't make sense, and find what my current sound was as a, 20 something year old.
Hmm.
Um, and what's really cool actually about American Idol was on top 40, I sang this song by Pink called Glitter in the Air. And the
Hmm.
guy that wrote it 2 years later reached out to me. I wound up signing to his publishing company, Billy Mann. And then Billy
Wow.
Mann's best friend, Carrie Brown, owns Licorice Pizza. That's how I met him. He lives in Hawaii half the time. So, and I sang in Hawaii there. So it's really cool the way it all played out. And Billy was just he's a genius songwriter, legendary. And
Hmm.
he really let me have the space to just re-fall in love with writing music. And that's what this, all of the music that Ferry Townes is these 3 years of me just feeling that raw love for music again. And
And
so,
working with them, him and the person who
yeah,
owns it.
so
Okay.
exactly. And it's so cool to have a publisher like him because he is so talented.
Uh-huh.
And it just to have that guidance and all that advice and stuff. And it was I couldn't ask for like a better squad around me. So that's
Amazing.
yeah, that's really cool.
So then you put a bunch of songs together and signed to
Yeah.
Licorice Pizza um and now you have this project and you decide on like you just kind of launched it, right? I mean, as far as like it's been less than a month that you put out your
Yeah.
first single.
Yeah.
So
So
it
it's
was
brand
like,
new.
what was that like? It was like, okay, it's time now. I'm ready. Like it's been
Yeah, I
this many
mean,
years.
exactly. I think a lot of young artists like myself can fall into this mindset where you just overthink everything to death.
Hmm.
And it's so easy to just keep waiting for like a certain time or like a certain, I don't know. And then that's what it was. It's just like you just got to do it because you love the music you're making. And now at this point, I had so many songs that just felt so right, so cohesive. Like I was so excited about, and yeah, it just felt like the right time. There's never really a wrong time. I don't know. I can go on and on about this because I watched so many of my friends and I watched myself do it for so long, just like wait and wait and wait and wait.
Yeah, no, I think it's important for people to hear though, because right, if you just are afraid to make it, if it's like, okay, I think if you keep overthinking it and keep tweaking and doing little things, like I remember
Yeah.
a lot of people I've talked to that was happening during the pandemic to them was like, well, I don't really have, I mean, I don't really need to release something right now because
Yeah.
if you're, especially the established people that are like, well, I can't tour the album, or I can't tour the song.
Yeah.
So it's like just sitting there and overproducing and until you decide, okay, like when is it ready, right? I mean,
Exactly. And I feel like that's the difference. Maybe this isn't true, but the difference between people that are killing it and not is because they're just putting out what they love and they're putting it out when they love it, And that's part of being successful is just not stopping when, you kind of want to. Um so that's I mean, I'm happy I got all these songs together that I feel confident, but I'm not gonna I want to put out the music because I love it, and not
mhm,
because it's the right time to be like successful or something, but it's just, refalling in love with that process, not the business side of it where you're just, putting out song after song after song
mhm,
because that's how you connect with people. It's a huge part of my social life too. In that way, it's like how I can and I'm always looking to, meet new people, especially just like have some sort of connection with people.
mhm,
Um, so I did notice like a shift in my personality and just my drive and blah blah blah. And as soon as I released Be Here, um, I it was immediate. You hear the people from whatever, a girl from Ireland's DMing me being like, I heard it on the Spotify radio and I just want to
yeah,
like that is so special. And um yeah, I just missed that a lot.
amazing. Did you like when you got like when the show ended
Yeah.
and was it like you were talking about writing songs kind of to or putting out, I don't know if you said putting them out, but you were writing songs to kind of try to appease the fan base that you had acquired during American
Yeah.
Idol. Did you release music at that point or did you just hold the songs? And was it like I need to release stuff now because, strike while the iron's hot kind of deal?
Yeah. And I do, and it was music that I didn't, I mean, I really like the songs. Like, I think they're good songs,
Hmm.
but there was something that was just, that felt rushed. And again, striking when the iron's hot. And, and I wasn't just even trying to appease like a fan base. It was the executive, it was like all the people that were
Everyone.
working around me.
Mhm.
And, you know, the more time goes by, you realize like how little influence or little like power they have in that way where like I was the one making that decision, but it's just when you're scared and you're under seasoned and it yeah, it's such an interesting process when you're right off like off a show like that, and then you have all these people not like they're kind of like they don't know what you want to do, like only you do, but I didn't know what I
Right.
wanted to do and they didn't know, so I was just like, okay, this sounds good, and I put it out, and that just never sat right with me.
Yeah. I can see that, especially, well, yeah, I mean, nowadays it's like you can kind of just get discovered, right, via TikTok or
Mhm.
Instagram or something where
Yeah.
you land that thing and maybe you only have one. I've had, you see the people that had the one song and then they go away because it was too early, or the first thing they put out like becomes this, you know, viral thing. And now what?
Mhm.
Now what are you gonna do? And if you're in a situation like American Idol and you have the fan base and the executive people around you, like they know that people are watching you, they know who you are, and
Yeah.
they can kind of try to mold what they think you should sound like and what you could do. And if you're young and at that point you want to stay relevant, stay and this is what you want to do. And it's like, well, I guess I'll just listen to these people because
Yeah.
they've done it. And I could see how that could be very
Well,
hard.
exactly, but that's what Fairy Towns is to me, is, like, forgetting all of that jumbled
Right,
because
right,
again, it's you
yeah.
can overthink it to death, you can just, like, have so many like, I just don't wanna worry about, like, a viral moment, and of course, like, there's nothing bad about it, like, that's amazing, like, it's so good for your career if it happens, it's so good, but to be like that, just to feel discouraged after when it's not doing the same, it's just, like, such a trap, and you can completely
Mhm.
forget about these, like, new heights that you've reached, and that's like a similar way that I felt in the past that I'm so happy to break free from with Fairy Towns because it is more a career. It's like, what would my career look like without American Idol? Like, without that knowledge of what happened, like with all the high highs and blah, blah, blah. It's just for the pure like love of music
Right.
and these songs, not, sometimes it's just my fault because I'm just like, it's just about the music, man. But
Well,
everyone's
that's
like,
what I feel like. Yeah, you're at that point where it was like
yeah.
you had that experience where you get off the show and you have all these people on you and these eyes, and then people that have been in the business saying this is what it should sound like and you should do this. And with
Mhm.
Fairy Towns now, you're like, this is what I want to do, and this is what I'm going to do, and
Yeah.
it doesn't matter really what anyone else thinks except
Yeah,
for what you think. And
exactly. And it
and
was
people obviously are resonating with that, and the song's doing awesome, and that's working, which is great.
yeah, I mean, it was also I feel like those 3 years after Idol, it was my first time, not in school, like, Idol happened when I was in college. So now
Mhm.
I'm just, like, living my I moved out to California for a bit, and
I'm sorry. Just kidding.
I moved back to Staten Island.
There you
No, I love it out here. I love visiting.
go.
I love visiting. I really do. But it was such a time, I'm in my early 20s. I'm like on my own for the first time, like, not in school or anything, not living with my family. And so these songs just, they're so based on fact and just all of this. Like I was feeling so many feelings so hard during this time. I had just left my old record label. My old manager disappeared off the face of the planet with like no word. I'm floating in like a cloud of weed smoke in my LA garage, just like having no clue what I'm doing. And
Oh, wow.
so it was really just building myself up from what I thought at the time was just the bottom.
Mhm.
Even though I just exactly that's what I put in my head. I just came off of the show. But anyway, I felt so low and just putting the pieces back together and having adult relationships and just making friends when you're a little older is weird, and
Right.
roommates are weird. So there was just so much honesty that went into this. Yeah, I'm actually putting out an album, and I'd love listening to it because it really is like a scrapbook, not to sound corny, but and I
Oh.
just chuckle because there's certain lines where I'm like, oh my gosh. There's this one song on the album that I guess I'm just gonna talk about it now. But I was a little, it was like the first, I was really getting into my honest writing style. I used to be a lot more general, and now I'm just like, just really including the details.
Hmm.
But I was so nervous that this person was going to know that the song was about her because it was kind of like a frenemy situation. So obviously I changed her name, but I also would include lines like, you know, if you ask me, she's the best thing, like just in case like she would knew it was about her. And even that was funny because like that was just such a start of me like not really caring if people
Hmm.
knew like what, I just started to include everything about everything after that song. But again, these songs are so special to me, which is
Yeah.
important.
Yeah, I know, and I want to hear about the single, but I want to touch on one thing you mentioned. Like you said, you were kind of you're in the garage and the weed smoke, and you're like, "What am I? This is my kind of like what am I gonna do?" The manager ghosts you,
Oh,
but I could see where
it's
you'd be
rough.
at, right? Because it's like, is this the end of this?
Yeah.
I would, is this over now? Do I have to go do something totally different?
It's so easy to feel like it's the end. Like, and I watch so
Right.
many talented people that kind of come off those like these shows too that I know personally, and it's just like it was just I don't know. That's not fair to say. Anyway, I yeah, I you it was such a it was such a low in my eyes, and but luckily I just never had another corny thing over said thing, but I just never had a plan B. I didn't know how it was going to work out, but there was just no other option. Like I was just going to keep doing what I was doing. Hopefully it like worked out. Now I have bills to pay. That was another thing that happened in life, just bills.
Mhm.
um
Adult
and
stuff.
I know, but luckily as long as yeah, I just like you just keep going, and then luckily things just kind of came my way, which is really special. But it was because of the show, that's what was so awesome about being on freaking national television is like you're in front of millions of people, and some of them really want to help you. And that's like with Billy, and I met him like off of the Pink song, and he came in and swooped me from my misery. That's so dramatic, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, yeah, no. And then so the first one that you put out as Fairy Towns,
Hmm.
with Be Here, and I want to talk to you about what's that song about and why did you decide to,
Start with that one.
debut yourself in
Yeah.
this new project with that one?
So when I moved out to LA, I met this couple, Jess Best and Connor Schultz, and they're like a writer producer duo who just
Hmm.
happened to be in love. And they built like the studio in their garage. And I would go there, and that's where I kind of fell in love with collaborating since like the American Idol stuff, because it was just we just jammed, and there was so much feeling involved, and nothing was forced, and there wasn't speed dating, like you know what I mean.
Yeah, where it's
So
like,
we
is
just
this gonna
made
work with this producer or let's
yeah,
try
it was
somebody
so
else? Or
natural,
yeah.
and I've never had that experience prior to this moment with a producer or even like kind of a writer. um so we just came up with a just batch of songs that we were all obsessed with, and that was actually the initial group of songs that I came to Licorice Pizza with and Carrie with. um so and one of them, yeah, was Be Here. And not only did I think the the concept of the song and just Be Here in general was like a very fitting um kind of reminder to myself when I'm constantly looking into the future for, you know, like it's the answer to everything. And just thinking, it's just so easy to look way too far ahead.
Hmm.
um And this is like a really, really big, exciting thing that's happening to me right now. Just very like this start over this just Ferry Townes in general. So it was half a reminder to myself. And I thought it was a good energy to put out in the world, a good first step. And I just love it, like the bass, like there's something so I love how we just took, or Connor, the producer, everyone's like, oh, who's the guitar player in the beginning? It's like, oh, that's actually a bass player. It's like he's just playing harmonics. And then there's all this, like, he was just so creative and took a simple, folky ballad or whatever and just turned it to something so cool.
Hmm.
So I thought it was just the perfect way to start off Fairy Towns.
Love it. And the song's incredible. And
Thank you.
you said you have an album done?
I do. I
Oh my
really
gosh.
do. I know. It's just, oh, it's crazy. And I can usually I would be kind of tired of listening to something by now, but it's just consuming my brain. I play it all the time. And I cannot wait until it's out. It's been done for a while. It's just been, there's so much thought and heart and passion that went into it, and everybody that, like, all there's a couple different producers who I just have such special deep relationships with, and
Hmm.
which is exciting, to have a body of work that's not only sounds cool to you, but that the people behind it also are people that will hopefully, like, be in your life forever, and you'll always get to make music with them.
Hmm.
um but yeah, and I'm just so excited for, like, the rollout of all the singles. Like, each one to me is just more exciting than the last, and it's very fun to be giddy about music like this again. I'm just like, I can't wait for you to know.
Do you have like a like when you were writing these songs, did you know at a certain point that it was going to be an album, or did you always want to put out a full album? Just in this day and age of like, okay,
Yeah.
put out 3 singles, and then the fourth single is going to be now it's an EP. You know what I mean? That's kind of like
Yeah.
the motive, or like the what's happening now more so in
Well,
music.
yeah. That's why I love Kerry Brown, because he is such an album. He loves an album, and, like, not
Yeah, I
not
love an
many, like,
album.
new art. It's not many new artists are doing that, like, immediately in the first year of their career. So I'm so excited that, and I love albums. Like, I just love listening to something start to finish. It helps me get to know an artist so well. But it's all of these songs, like, kind of happened. There's, like, I would say there's, like, three chunks. I went to Sweden last year and wrote a bunch of songs with Johan Lindbrandt, a producer on the album, and I loved them so much. But I'm like, oh, I'm worried they don't mix with the Jess and Connor songs, and oh,
Mhm.
it's so different. Like, I need this sound, da 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 da. And again, I almost overthought it to death, but it all goes together so well, and it's so, again, it's just so easy to overthink everything, and then everyone's like, wait, they go together perfectly, and it's like, oh, they all are my sound. Like, it all is my sound. Like, it's right in front of you. It's so easy to get caught up in that. So I didn't originally think that all of the songs were for the album, but I'm very happy that they all ended up on the album.
Awesome. Well,
Mhm.
I'm excited. I love what you have out thus far, and just the one song. And I
Thank
don't know if
you.
you have a date, or I'm sure that's probably something that you can't disclose yet.
Yeah.
But
I
I'm
will
excited
very
that you've
soon.
even said that you have an album. So that's amazing.
Yeah, I'm really, really stoked about it.
And you
I
have a
picked up
vinyl
that
player
word,
behind
and
you. Are you
oh
gonna
yeah, I know.
put one
They're
out?
really the shameless plug. Oh, here. Oh, actually, oh, I don't know. Yes, which I'm excited about.
What were
I'm
you
the
gonna say?
worst.
The shameless plug. What's behind? What were we gonna say about the record player?
Oh no, I was talking just about the
Oh, the
licorice
big,
pizza
yeah,
banner
pizza
behind
thing.
me.
No, that's
Oh yeah.
tight.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Which rocks. I
Love it.
actually showed up. When I was walking in today, they have, like, Fairy Towns be here. I have to show you. Well, I'll show you. I'll send it to you or something. But it was like this really cute setup of, like, the music video playing, and um be here, like, spray painted on the window. It's
Wow.
pretty sick.
So are you at their building?
Yeah, I'm there right now.
Awesome.
Hmm.
Well, I'm very excited to hear the rest of what's coming with Fairy Towns. I love what you're doing thus
Thanks,
far.
Adam. I appreciate it. I'm
Yeah,
excited
and
for you to hear.
I'm I appreciate you taking time to do this. Thank you
Oh,
so
of
much.
course. It's good to be back on. I did this podcast a couple of years ago, which is fun to.
Yes, under your original project.
Exactly. So it's cool to be back with
Yes.
this new update for you.
I know. I'm excited. So awesome. Well, I appreciate you coming back this time, and I hope to have you back again.
Of course. Thank you
Maybe
so
around
much
the
for having me.
album, or
Yeah, that'd be
got something
cool.
else going on. Well, thanks
Yeah, that'd be
again. I
sick.
have one more question. I asked you this last time, but I'm going to ask again.
Cool.
Do you have any advice for aspiring artists?
Yeah, I mean, to recap this conversation, I think it's do what you do because you love it, not because you're expecting, you know, some massive success. I think the success is just creating art and putting it out there and feeling good about it. I think you're ahead of the curve if you're able to do that.
Bringing it backward.